Alright friends, fine. Girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to one and all. Myself Shabnam from the Code Ark, and we welcome you all at day 27 of our full stack web development series. Alright, fine. Would be glad if someone of you could acknowledge to us in the chat section, audibility, visibility, all clear and set to go or not. Yeah, good evening people. Good evening to everyone who have greeted us in the chat section. Okay, fine. A very quick recap of what we have learned yesterday. In fact, we were talking about the different built-in objects of JavaScript. Is that okay? First of all, we were talking about the math object. We learned some of the inbuilt functions of the object. Is that correct? Inbuilt method, maybe it was floor or ceiling or round or truncate and so on. And then we moved on to understand the Boolean object of JavaScript. What all you can experiment with Boolean, how the constants by default are always true, and what by default are false, like null or NaN, a flag for not a number, so on. Yeah, good evening. Fine, all clear. Thank you. Alright, okay, some of them were asking to us in the chat section, on our WhatsApp groups or personally, that how can we get the information about all these objects and where can I download these functions from. Alright, we will be shortly sending you the link of official documentation of JavaScript wherein you can always get this information about the built-in objects. It's a kind of a help manual. Alright, okay, since we are going to learn something very interesting today, so let's not waste our time and try to use maximum of this 1 hour and learn the stuffs. People, just one thing before I could start. Yesterday, in case if you people have missed the class or have not watched our recording, we have learned while studying math object how to generate an random numbers, or especially for OTP generation. Alright, now OTP generation by itself or in itself is a project. So in case if you have missed the concept of OTP generation using random number, please make sure that you have watched the class yesterday before you actually start working on projects. Okay, fine. About the project, we will be talking shortly because we still have some connectivity classes in JavaScript to come up. Once that is done, then we'll talk about it. Yes. Okay, so here we go. This is what we are going to learn today, the date object of JavaScript as well as the coding of the digital clock. Right, fine. Let me quickly jump into Visual Studio Code. Some of the code I have kept it written for the class today, like this one. This is only to save our time. In fact, most of the part we will be coding also. Okay, ignore this. This is a simple HTML file. Okay, have a check. So this contains nothing. Let me quickly create a JavaScript program. So I call it as a day 27. Program 2.js. Alright, fine. Putting up here in the comment, we are learning about the math object of, date object of JavaScript. Date object, which is a built-in object. Okay, again and again when I am using the word object, you are actually considering it to be the class. You understood? हम उसको बोलते हैं object, but उसकी actual identity class होती है यहाँ पे, classes or static classes etc. Right? Fine. चलिए. So date object, which is a built-in object in JavaScript. Alright. Let me first see how to create a new date object. So say d is a variable is equals to new date. Exactly the way we have created an object of our classes. So we are creating d as an object of built-in date class. For my friends who have forgotten, please roll back. Go back. You remember this is how we used to create the class. See, I have a class called as vehicle. Alright, and to create object of this class, for example, v1. So v1 equals new vehicle. Alright, one more point to revise for you all. When you write opening closing round bracket at the end of class declaration or an object declaration, it's a direct call to the constructor of the class. Boys, right? Boys and girls, that's a direct call to the constructor of the class. बस उसी तरह समझ लीजिए हमने यहाँ पर सिर्फ यही वाला काम किया है. Because this class date comes as built in, ready-made tip-top, ready-made and built in JavaScript. You just have to do this effort, take this effort to create an object of it. Fine. That's all. So D is an object of my inbuilt date class. Okay. If you just try to print D, say document.write D. Okay. Document.write D. Alright. So let me come here. Run it with a live server. What happened? There's something wrong. Okay. You know where am I going wrong? It isn't showing me any output. If you are mentally present, what is missing in the code yet? What is yet missing in the code, people? It isn't producing any output. Okay, I gave you one hint. There is nothing wrong with the JavaScript program. There's nothing wrong in this code. Then what am I missing? सब कुछ राइट है तो भी आउटपुट नहीं आया. What is the problem? HTML. Shreyas is correct. You did not import this file in HTML. Okay. You did not import this file. So let me use a script tag. src is equals to date27 program 2.js. Alright. And here we go. So this is how JavaScript displays a date in a standard format. Alright. When you say standard format means hour, minute, second, year, month and the day itself. Alright. The time zone that it shows the time in is by default taken from your browser. People, we understand the time zone. Correct. As you see the time zone displayed there in the output, that is IST, Indian Standard Time. So whatever is a default time zone of your browser, the browser could be Edge, the browser could be Chrome, or it could be Firefox. Alright, so आपके browser का जो भी default time zone है, whether it is GMT or UTC, that's a universal time format, the universal time clock. But for us, it's an Indian Standard Time, so it shows it. And this is what you see as a date here. That's a date read from a system clock. So mind you, if your system clock is wrong, the date printed is also wrong. Yes, imported the file. Correct. I read your message now. Is that very correct to all of us? Fine. So Tuesday, October 24, 2023, followed by hour, minute, second. Second के बाद और एक component नीचे जाता है in the hierarchy, that's millisecond. But generally millisecond isn't shown unless and until the nature of your transaction is so sensitive or critical. Is that fine? Right. So by default, when you try to or when you attempt to display the date, by default JavaScript converts your date into string. Shortly we will be talking about the date methods. Therein we'll also talk how to manually convert date into string. But as of now, to speak simple and wind off this point, this is how the date is generated, or the date object is created and displayed. Okay, fine. Coming up ahead, let's see more what we can, what more we can play around with the dates. Alright, now suppose from this date what else I wanted to show you. Wait, have a look. Okay, so that I don't miss out on anything. Okay, have kept some simple common code written here. Look, this is a new date object I'm creating. These are the different ways that you can create a date object. So the first one was simply passing nothing as argument to the constructor. That's what we did in our program today. This is by passing date as a string in the constructor. So you see, I have passed some ordinary string, that is 2020 November 12. So if I could copy this date or any other date of a choice, people. Okay, so let me create a new date object here. That's new date. Okay, and I pass any date as a string. That means you have passed some argument to the constructor of the date class. And now if you attempt to print D1, which is again a date object but created in a little different fashion, you see what it does? Am I right? So it has automatically converted the string into date format, correct? आपने क्या लिखा था? November 12, 2020, right? But that automatically that string got converted into a date object, giving you output in the date format. Is that okay? So November 12, you see that was a Thursday. It has automatically computed as per its calendar. The date that you mentioned in the argument was found out to be Thursday. And since you haven't mentioned any time, that's the reason 000000. And if you were so curious or maybe so bothered, you could have written time also there. आप time चाहते तो वो भी लिख सकते थे. Alright, fine. Let me show you what else you can do with the date. What other formats? Okay, you can even create a date in this format. That is separated by hyphen. Year, month and day. Year, month and day, all separated by hyphen. Try to create a date this way. I'm sorry for that. D2 is equals to new date. Okay. Or let me write anything. 2017 hyphen 04. Whatever you pass as a second argument, that will be month. Alright. And then say 01. That is the day. So let's see how does it print. How does it print? Okay. So this is D2. Coming back here. Alright. So 2017 April. Am I right? Because since you have written it 04, it considered it to be the month of April. January, February, March and April. And this is 1. That is the 1st of April 2017. I hope you could see one more thing. In this format, if you write date, it shows me time something like this. That's always a default time. Alright, that's always the default time. Again, if you do not like this time, you could have set time also. आप चाहते तो यहाँ पर time भी set कर सकते थे like this. Okay, so this is what time you have set. Is that okay? All of us people, now try to understand one more thing. The information that we provide as a date sometime is compulsory, sometime it becomes too necessary. There's a difference between the both. Right? For example, if you talk about analysis upon the data, right, so I want to compare the sales or maybe the performance in terms of revenue or in terms of any other factor. So one of the dimension to compare the performance is always date and time. Okay? Maybe you are generating a weekly sales report or maybe a monthly report. Alright, or maybe a yearly report. So you'll always find one of the axes or one dimension of this comparison factor is always a time. So how to create an object, how to generate the or how to input a system time or user prompted time. That's how exactly date object help us to achieve. Alright, coming back, see what else we can play around with the date object. Alright, suppose I create a date in this way. Okay, suppose I create a date in this way. Have a look what I do this time. I create another date object T3. Now it depends upon how many numbers you are passing. Up until now, we were passing only one argument to the constructor. Was that noted? Correct. Up until now, we were passing only one argument to the constructor. But this time we are passing, see how many argument? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you are passing 6 argument, people, the first one is always considered to be the year, followed by month, followed by day. That is day of the month. Alright. Fine. So this is 2014. Since you said month 5, April, May. So up until here, the date will be considered as 6th May 2014. उसके बाद भी अगर आप कंटिन्यू करते हो आर्ग्यूमेंट पास करना, so this will be hour part of the date, minute part of the date, second part of the date. And even if you give comma and write another number, that will be treated as a millisecond. And that's fine. Okay, you don't expect after millisecond it's going to take an argument for micro or nanosecond and so on also. So the maximum number of arguments that you can pass is 7. Hoping you understand. And suppose if you do not pass 7 or you do not pass, you just pass 6, so the last one to stop will be second. Alright. You pass only 5, so the last one where it will stop considering the date argument would be minute, and so on. Let's see one by one how does it deal. How does it display? Fine. So printing this time the date object T3. The date object T3, people, printing this time. Okay, what was the date we have entered? Fine, correct. If only keep noticing the last output. It says 6th June 2014, 7, 8 and 8. Yep, correct. So this is as per our input, correct? 6th June. Okay, the reason why June, because this is the important point that I did not mention. People, numbering of the month always starts from 0. So if you have written 5, it considers as a 6th month. Alright, let me put up this point as a comment here. Numbering of the months always starts from 0. Alright, so January to December, numbering you need to consider as 0 to 11. Okay, that is 0 to 11. That's the reason even if you have written the month number as 5, but it has considered it to be the month of June. Is that fine? All of us here, correct? 7, 8 and 8 considered to be hour, minute and second. So similarly, if I do not pass 6 of them and if I pass only 5, have a look. This is my object T4. Okay, and if I pass only 5 and I attempt to print that, I attempt to print T4 as my object. Alright, so it doesn't treat second as anything. By default it maintains 0. Rest of the date is what exactly you pass the argument to the constructor, correct? Okay, Navin, I'm sorry to read your message now. Where to see the inbuilt functions? That's what I said in the beginning. Navin, shall be sending you the official link of documentation on the WhatsApp group. JavaScript official documentation, people, wherein you can find all the built-in functions and all the built-in classes. It's a kind of manual that JavaScript has to provide us. Alright, in fact I texted you the same thing in the WhatsApp also. I don't remember the same thing or not. That is the official documentation wherein you will find all the present classes. Is it okay? Fine. Right after the class today. Take it. So to be little quick, okay, if I could minus 1 or 2 arguments more, friends who are present here, quick. Okay, this all these methods, functions comes out to be very handy when you sit to code a time analysis kind of projects. Okay, fine. So how many arguments this time? 4. Of course, the first one will be treated as a year followed by month. आप बोलोगे नहीं मुझे year pass करना है, उसके बाद में I want to talk directly about the hour. So that's not possible because ordering goes hierarchically in descending fashion only. बड़े से छोटा, year, month, date followed by hour, minute and second. So if the last 2 parameters are missing, minute and second will be treated by default as 0. Print and check them once. Okay, I'm keeping it once again T4, that's okay. Right, so this time no minute, no second. Alright, so remaining I hope you'll try on your own. Okay, so like this, check it out once. Okay, for example, I provide only 2 arguments to the constructor, boys. Okay, I just provide only 2 arguments to the constructor. Okay, that is 2014 and 5. So by default that will be considered as month and year. Is that okay? I hope you understand. Month once again June and year once again 2014. Now since you have not mentioned the date, oh, I hope you understood. Okay, ma'am, is day starts on no Shreyas, even day starts from 0 to 6. I hope you're getting my point. The days also start. Days of the week you are talking about, correct? If you're talking about the days of the week, that's 0 to 6. But if you're talking about the dates are actually from 1 to 31 only. Because dates are not indexed. Okay, Shreyas, I hope your question is answered. If still not, write to me again in the chat section. Alright, fine. Okay, so this is what we have passed this time. Only 2 arguments to the constructor, girls and boys. So since there are just 2 arguments, that means you have provided information only about the year and the month that you want. Rest all will be set by default. Okay, like date by default 1, hour, minute 7 by default all zeros. Alright, fine. ठीक है. और अगर suppose the year, if you are passing only as a 2-digit number, so that's your fault, because any 2-digit number as a date is considered to be the previous century date, that is 1990. Alright, you consider this to be 2014, no, it will be 1914. I hope you got my point. Right, so the first 2 digit it will pre-append before the date would be 19, that is of the previous century. Oh, you see, this is 1914. Alright, so in case if I write like this 2023 and you consider if I just write 23, it won't produce any error as well, but that would be the incorrect data that eventually comes out as an output. Okay, so that's not 2023, in fact by default created 1923. Is that okay? Fine. So these are the different ways in which you can create a date object. Right, starting from nothing passed as an argument to the date class, then passing date as a string to whom it automatically converts into a date output. Is it right? Even if you write it in terms of separate or date, month, year separated by hyphen, that's also fine. If not hyphen, even the front slashes work this way. So left all these things up to you to check them out. Alright, now coming to a little important concept of the date object, that is what are the different built-in functions of date. Alright, what are the different built-in functions of your date? Some of them, to save a time, I've kept them coded here. Have a look at that once. Fine. So this is my date. Come on, a little important part of the class today, people. थोड़ा सा ध्यान दीजिए यहाँ पे. ठीक है? So D6 is a date object. You see, I've passed nothing as argument to the constructor. Right? Alright. Now these are the different built-in functions of the date, like get here. In fact, get full year. You can't use get here. It's a deprecated function by JavaScript. Get here, people. वो error भी नहीं देता है, but improper output देता है. We consider it to be deprecated, means no more in use. Right? Now suppose from the date part you just want to extract month information. So I want to generate a pie diagram kind of analytical report displaying monthly sales. Okay, between different companies, say Nokia versus HP versus Dell versus Samsung, say in the month of the month which is gone, say the month of September. Is it right? So from all the available dates in the sales sheet, I'm interested to extract the transaction that happened in the month of September. हाँ, तो फिर आपको month number चाहिए ना from the date to be extracted, correct? Or maybe from the last 10 years data, I just want to plot the analytical graph between the 2 years, say 2021 and 2022. So that means you're extracting only the year part from the date, or transaction with respect to only those dates where the years are these two. Correct? So let's see what are the different methods, built-in methods in the date class, which makes our life easier. We start here one by one. Alright, I create a new date object. Let me say D5, which is equals to new date. right? So when you don't pass any date to create or initialize your object, the default date is always the system date. Is that correct? The default date is always the system date. Next, moving on. Come on, moving on from here. Say if I write document.write. Come, document.write. People, D5 dot get date. Okay, starting from get date. So let me show you what output it says. Okay, that was 24. That means only the date part of the date, correct? Okay, now fine. I'll come to a point at the end of the class again. I have noted your message. In fact, you have been requesting this since the last week, and I think we were not able to get back to you on this. Fine. So I have kept this noted. In fact, it's right in our mind also. Only due to lack of time and since we are occupied with many other duties, we were unable to respond to every individual request. But we make to the point that we reply to this request in a priority. Is it okay? Fine. So that's get date, people. That's get date. But instead of date, people, if first let me print. Come, for the next 5 minutes, people, be little more attentive. Be little more attentive. Okay. Let me first print this entire date as it is. वो जैसे इनिशियलाइज हुआ, जनरेट होकर इनिशियलाइज हुआ, पहले आप एज इट इज उसे प्रिंट कर दीजिए. So let me not operate anything upon this date. Okay, let us not perform any operation upon the date. Just print the date as it is. Okay, so this is October 24, 2023 with respective time as per your system clock. Okay, respective time as per your system clock along with the time zone. Okay, but I'm interested only in the date part of the date. So it showed me that is 24. Now I just want to extract the year from the date. Year from the date. So let me say get full year. Get full year. Fine. So it says 2023. Likewise, the rest you can expect on your own also. Like this is self-explanatory. Most of the methods that date class has to offer us, they are self-explanatory. Unlike your math or Boolean object. Okay, like there was always a confusion between trunk and round. Or maybe round and floor or floor and ceiling. Right? But it is pretty obvious what get minutes would do. It's going to extract only the minute part of the date. Correct? I hope you understand. Right? Because it is based on minute, that maybe you want to, or minute or maybe hour, you want to display the time as AM or PM. Okay. So it says, okay, 33 minutes. You keep comparing here. That is 33. Fine. Okay. So document, instead of minute, what can I do is, let me write month. Let me go in descending order so that nothing is missed out. Get month. Fine. So it says month is 9. Actually, this is the 10th month. But because it has index from 0, that's the reason it says 9. I hope you got my point. Is it okay? Okay. Let me see if this works. So it is not responding. Okay, I'm not experimenting. Fine. Okay, we'll have to write if else only then to write the month name. Take it. After that, going ahead. Going ahead. Okay, if not month, the date we have already displayed. So that let me go directly to hours. Okay, so that is 16. Similarly, you also attempt to display the second. Alright, there is also a function called as get millisecond, but information actually produced by it is not as efficient as expected. Okay, like this. milliseconds, people. Milliseconds. Alright, so it says by 956 millisecond. 956 millisecond. Sometimes you even find the millisecond to be even a larger number. Right, because from 1 to 1000, whatever could be the millisecond. Is it okay? Fine, so these are the different day. Okay, you want me to write day here. Fine. Okay, day. That is 2. Hoping you understand it. 2. 2 means what? Is actually the third day, starting from Sunday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right? Okay, Shreyas, look, this is what I was talking about. आपने जिसको 1 to 7 लिखा है, that is for day number, day number. What it has given to me as an answer, this is the day number 2. Is it okay? Day, but day number 2 means what? Since it has started numbering the days of the week from 0. So the first day, that is Sunday, index 0. Second day, that is Monday, number or index 1. And the third day, which is Tuesday today, is actually third day of the week, but the number is 2. Is that fine? All of us. People, okay? Now with this information in hand, let us see, how to write a small code which will always display the clock on the web page. Alright, in fact, many websites you will find showing some kind of real-time information like the current date and time, or maybe the current weather, or maybe some kind of current real-time geolocation information like longitude, latitude as well. Understood? Concept? नहीं ना भाई, उसके लिए फिर तुम्हें कोड अलग लिखना पड़ेगा. Understood? Time zone change करना पड़ेगा. You have to set the time zone completely. Right? Say you want some PST, American Standard Time. I hope you got my point. Or some other country like Australian Standard Time or Greenwich Median Time. So we actually have to change the time zone or write the code to change the time zone. Set time zone. You got my point? Fine. Only then it is possible. I hope you got it. If possible, I'll show you that quickly at the end. Take it. One more thing before we could wind off these topics, people. These functions, one more thing. The way we have get method, we also have the set method. Okay. जैसा get होता है वैसा set भी होता है. Like this, if you could see one of it, I have set in the minute part here. Set minutes. Check करके देख लो यहाँ पे. Okay. Say I create a new date T6, a new date object, people. Come on. I create a new date object and the date is 2021. Say 2021 November. Okay, again I'm taking November 19. 19. If you say document dot write D6, document dot write T6. Fine. So you find here the date is displayed as it is, what you have mentioned, but hour, minute and seconds are all blank. So let me see how I can set this hour, minute and second information using the set time method. Okay. So D6 dot set hours. Okay. So I want to set hour as 14. 14 means 2 p.m. Okay. And every time you set it, you need to display the data again, because set hours is not going to return anything to be displayed. Okay. So you could see the hour is here. Am I right? The hour is here. Fine. Likewise, try something with set minute. D6 dot set minutes. Minutes, people. Minutes. Okay, 55. And printing this again. Printing this again. Okay, so this is 55. Right? So likewise, this way you can even set date, you can even set year, you can even set month, second, you can even set a millisecond. I hope you understand. Right? So these are the different functions associated with the date object or inbuilt date class. You can get the different parameters of a date or set the different parameter to the date. Alright, now coming to the application of this. ये सब भाई use किधर होता होगा? So one application that I said you is, say I want to display the digital time, or let me say the digital clock on my page, which will always keep me informed about the current date and time. And if I'm not wrong, this has been put into practice by many modern day apps as well. Correct? So let's see how to do that. Okay, fine. Check it out. This is a simple function that I've kept coded. Thoda dhyan dena people. The function is a show time. Show time. Now all these we understand well. All these we understand well. Okay. What is the date? This is an object that I have newly created. Okay. I'm extracting hours from date, minute from date, and seconds from the date, and setting it to my variable h, m, and s. Is that okay? Right? Just for a time being, if I could ignore this if statements, थोड़ी देर के लिए इसको ignore करिए, and come down here. This is how I want to actually display the time as h appended with colon, m containing minute appended with colon, s containing seconds appended with, in fact, space. Is that okay? In fact, the space. In session like AM or PM, I'm going to check up if the R is more than 12, then set the session to PM. But if the R is less than 12, let session have its default value, that is AM only. I hope you're understanding my point. 12 से ऊपर टाइम बताता है, 12 या 12 से ऊपर तो ही हमको PM डिस्प्ले करना है, नहीं तो it should be AM only. Alright, fine. And also if R is equal to 0, because the numbering of R starts from 0, correct? R अगर 0 है तो instead of showing 0, I am setting R to 12. 12 बज रहे, correct? रात के 12 बज रहे. ये काम आपको नहीं करना है, so you won't let it display 0 0 only. That is also fine. So you want, you can get rid of that if statement. Is that okay? Fine. Alright. What is more important here is to understand this three part. We just created a new date object, extracted hour from the date, minutes from the date, and seconds from the date. Alright. Concatenated all these hour, minute, and seconds with colons and spaces, and set one string to the, and declared it, assigned it to the variable time. Okay, I have an element on my HTML page called as my clock display. Quickly let me go to HTML page. See, I have a division tag here. You don't want division, you can even take a label. I've kept both of them created. Right, so inside the division tag, since it's an empty tag, I want to display the time here. Got it? I want to display the time. The same thing we are doing here. My clock display ka inner HTML, we are setting it to time. I hope you got my point. Is it okay, people? Now, this function which you see here is an actual hero of this entire movie called as set timeout. Right? For all our friends who have joined us late in case, people, we are writing code to create a digital clock. And in order to write this code, we have spent an entire lecture today to understand the different date methods. हमको सिर्फ तीन ही मेथड से काम था यहाँ पे, get hour, get minute, and get second. Alright, but the point is what, you know, if you do not code this particular function, see, let me first run this program without writing that code. Clear? Set timeout वाला कोड लिखे बगैर एक बार इस प्रोग्राम को रन करते हैं. See, this function is called here. Is it okay? This function is called here. So let me come into HTML file. Let me call that script also. src is equals to the name of the program or name of the JS file in which the program was coded was digital clock. So I write digital clock.js, script closes. Alright, you see the digital clock is here. Am I right? So it shows me 4:44:23, 4:44:23. But you know what exactly? I don't want the digital clock to look like this. उसको वो इफेक्ट दिखना चाहिए, लाइक सेकेंड, मिनट, आर चेंजिंग. Am I right? So the thing is what, this function was called only one time in the JavaScript program file. Am I right? So I want to write something, automate the calling of this function. Who is going to call this function many times, even using the for loop? Who is going to write the for loop that call this function every second to show the different second, different minute, different hour? Am I right? So we want to automate this process of calling the function setTime every second. JavaScript provides us two methods, people, two inbuilt functions. One called as setTimeout and another called as setInterval. You can use any one of them. Okay, setTimeout and setIt, they're very interesting function. In fact, you will find this function used in many games, gaming also, that has been developed using JavaScript. Correct? Alright. Now, what does this setTimeout and setInterval does? आपसे दो question पूछेगा. Number one, what to do? What to do? Number two, how frequently to do? Alright. So, what to do is always a function which is called here. It's a function call. And how frequently to do is always a time in millisecond. Okay, in millisecond. I hope you got my point. Right? Similarly, the same two question is asked to you by setInterval as well. What to do and how frequently to do. Is that okay? So how do I do this work here? See, inside the function definition only. Right? So the function showTime starts here and the function showTime ends here. Before this function ends, I have set a timeout of this function or interval of this function. Keep calling this function in every 100 milliseconds. I'm sorry, 1000 millisecond make up 1 second. You understood? 1000 millisecond that makes up 1 second. तो हर एक second में ये function को बुलाते जाए. So the moment you call the function showTime, it reads all this code, it comes till here, it comes till here. But when it comes to this line of code execution, it will go one more time to call the function and it will call it after a second again. Is that okay? No, Shreya, we cannot change it to 12-hour format. To change it to 12-hour format, see, I have written a code here. Okay, what Shreya is asking is indeed an important question. There is no default function by JavaScript date object to change the format. The default clock is always a 24-hour format clock. But if you don't want to display 14 PM, you want to display it as 2 PM. So you have to actually subtract 14 from 12. That's what we have done. Say hour is 14. Okay, but I don't want to display 14. I want to display it as 2 PM. 2 बज रहे, 14 बज रहे नहीं बताना है. तो जो भी R होगा, अगर वो 12 से बड़ा है, if it is greater than 12, so subtract that R minus 12 and set it a new value and then display it. Correct? What you are asking, I have done it inside the if-else statement here. I hope you can see that. The line which I am commenting as of now. Just to show you and highlight. Okay? Fine. So there is no default way to convert or change the time format. Default format is always the 24-hour clock. You don't want time to be displayed in a 24-hour format. So better you have to write an expression how to display it in a 12-hour format. I hope the question is answered. If it is still not, alert to us in the chat box again. Fine. People, more importantly, is the set timeout clear? Fine. So we are calling this showTime function every 1000 seconds. Is that okay? So this is how JavaScript helps us to set the frequency of the function execution. Alright, आपको हर दिन में बुलाना है. Am I right? For example, every day you want to do a particular task. So who is going to write the code every day? Better you automate that code using set timeout or set interval. But mind you, the day is made up of 24 hours. You can't write 24 as a timeout interval. आपको 24 hour को millisecond में convert करना पड़ेगा. Are you getting it? Yes, it's a very big number. That is 24 into 60 into 60 into 60. You got my point. The number of hours, the number of minutes, the number of seconds into 1000. If 1 second is equals to 1000 millisecond, तो 24 घंटे में कितने सेकंड होते हैं? वो सारे into 1000. Correct or not? Is that okay? Yeah. If you want to set a birthday alarm, people, birthday alarm, for example, the way Navin is asking here. So birthday means what? That message has to pop up once in a year. So you firstly need to calculate how many seconds a 365 days would have. So 365 into that many number of hours into that many number of minutes into second into 1000. Is it okay? Take another good example. Say WhatsApp. People, WhatsApp updates itself every day at 2 a.m. I think most of us are aware of this. Am I right? 2 baje, 2 a.m. early night. Am I right? Or early morning 2 a.m. तो अरे भाई हर दिन हम ये कोड थोड़ी लिखेंगे फिर. So the code to update a particular application has to frequently repeat itself or in an interval of every 24 hours. To call the function and set the time interval, it will become an automated process. Yes, correct. Right? So this is what an argument here for. हमने इतना टाइम इस बात में यहाँ पर स्पेंड किया. वो जो सेकेंड आर्ग्यूमेंट है वो मिली सेकेंड में इंफॉर्मेशन मांगता है. My friends who don't understand Hindi, people, the second argument it demands time in milliseconds. So the duration or interval first need to be converted into millisecond and then displayed. Got it? Fine. Okay. Bringing this explanation to the end, although I will come back to this JavaScript file again, but let's check output so far. So here we are. Cool. It's looking perfect. Am I right? 4, 51, 40, 41, 42. I'm waiting for another couple of seconds for this 51 to become 52. 12 more seconds to go. Correct? Or maybe 5 more seconds to go now. Correct. I hope you got my point. See, this looks ugly. Am I right? It shows 3, 4, 5, 6. If it's a single digit number, we normally have the habit to look it as 0, 2 instead of just 2. In fact, वो छोटा सा कोड यहाँ पर मैंने लिख के भी रखा है. But I kept it commented because in case if you don't understand, people, this kind of shorthand method of writing if else. Right? If you don't understand this method of writing if else, no problem. You write the way you know, the way I've written it up. If hour is less than 10, then append 0 with R or keep it as it is. Okay, writing here in the comment how the shorthand method of writing if else work is sometimes also called as a ternary operator. Unary, which requires only one operand like plus plus, minus minus. Binary operators which requires at least 2 operands like a plus b, a minus b, a into b. So when you write a into b, the product, people multiply करने के लिए हमको कम से कम 2 ऑपरेंड चाहिए. तो वो यूनरी नहीं है, फिर वो बाइनरी हो गया. Ternary means the operator which requires at least 3 operands. You got my point here, right? If you do not understand this way, then consider it's a shortened method of writing if else, where we first write the condition, continued ahead by question mark. That means what if this condition is true? Alright, if this condition is true, do something, else do something. So true or false, conditions are separated by colon. Alright, say for example, if the hour is greater than 12, then set the session to PM, else set the session to AM. Hoping you are understanding it. 11 दो बार बजते हैं दिन में, but 24 hour clock format में अगर वो 12 से कम है, हाँ तो भाई फिर let it continue as AM. But in a 24 hour clock format, if it is 22 or 23, let me say, then set it up as PM. Is that okay? Yes, condition operator. I hope you're getting my point. But condition operator, if it's actually ternary, it requires 3 operands here. A shortened method of writing condition. But one more time I would like to speak and conclude this point. अगर ये method नहीं समझता है तो कोई बात नहीं, normal if else में कोड करिए. अगर r 10 से कम है like 1 or 2, तो instead of writing just 1, write 0 1. So that is what this code is doing, appending 0 before r, appending 0 before the minute if it is less than 10, and appending 0 before the second if it is again less than 10. Alright. Yes, Shiraz, that's what. Every second. And if you want every 2 seconds, your question, Shiraz, I want to update time every 2 seconds. Then instead of 1000, I will write it 2000. And you want to update time every half a minute. You understood? Every half a minute. Half minute means what? 30 seconds, correct? So 30 into 1000. That is 30,000 लिखना पड़ेगा यहाँ पे. आधी मिनट में ही अगर आपको टाइम अपडेट करके डिस्प्ले करना है, हाँ तो 1000 नहीं 30,000 लिखना पड़ेगा. गेटिंग इट? Fine. Alright. Let me first come back here. Okay, it's already 42. Fine. We'll have to wait for another few seconds for that effect to be seen. Let's wait. Have patience and let's wait. Okay, so instead of 1, this time it is displaying 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5 till 9. Is that okay? All of us here. Fine. Okay, now when you practice this back at home, try to give some good CSS effects to it. Try to give a fluorescent effect or maybe some kind of transition effect. I hope you're understanding my point. Right? Try to change some color, try to make it beautiful, try to adjust using top left on the page, using CSS margin, padding, absolute positions or fixed positions and so on. Fine. We did not have that much of time in this 1 hour. We more focused on the logical part of the code rather than beautifying it. Right, so make sure before 4 PM tomorrow when I see you next, you have kept this digital part or digital code to display the clock pin practice at your place. Hoping you are understanding. Is it okay? All of us fine? Acha. Udhar bagair dekhe, since I have used that code, just help me to write that program in short. Demo. I won't run it. This is just a simple explanation. Function, say display clock. Okay, this is the function. Alright. Here I am taking is equals to new date. Okay. R is equals to d dot get hours. Come on, get hours. Then m is equals to d dot get minutes from the date. Okay. S is equals to d dot get seconds from the date. Is that okay? I'm not as of now running the logic for AM, PM and all. Just display the common message here. Display. Say T is equals to R concatenated with colon. Minute. People, minute. Again concatenated with colon. Plus second. Am I right? You actually want, you can display it using document.write also, but वो अच्छा नहीं दिखता है. Document.write means what you know, every time it will keep generating date one after another. एक के बाद एक. No, so that's the reason we have to create one text box or maybe a label inside which keep generating the date, so that it will keep overwriting. Let me show you that. Time. Is that okay? This way. And say set timeout. Set timeout. Call this function display clock. Call this function display clock. Say every 1000 milliseconds. Right? And finally call this function. Say display clock. Is that okay? Finally call this function display clock. Let me see if it is working. This is what the effect I wanted to show you. Guys, you got it? So if you use document.write, 16:59:51. And then it's too difficult. 16:59 some 20 seconds. That's what it is displaying, right? 28 seconds. No, but we never wanted clock to display it this way. This looks very ugly it looks weird. Am I right? So that's the reason the better option would be, instead of writing it directly on the web page, come to your HTML, create some kind of label or some kind of div tag. Is it okay? Let me set that output to inner HTML of this page, L1. So how to do that? Come on. Say document dot get element by ID. That's L1 dot inner HTML is equal to T. Am I right? Yeah, set it off 1 millisecond का टाइम आउट. इधर पे एक चेंजेस करना पड़ेगा हमको. This code I need to call later because label बाद में बनेगा, right? People, label बाद में बनने वाला है. I hope you understood. Look, the clock is here, people. Am I right? See. Again, your question, people. See, we have not converted. Shreyas, what you were asking. This is by default 17 and not 5 because this time we have not written the code to display it not 17 as 17 but 5. Correct? इसके लिए फिर हमको code लिखना पड़ेगा, right or not? Is that fine? Or if I so give it some kind of special effects, increase the size of the font to display that time. It should give some attractive feel, you know. It should become the center part of the page. वो देखने वाले की आंखों को पहले दिखना चाहिए आपका वो changing time. Okay, introduce more code. What I could not do, you do it. Bring more effects into it. See what else you can do that. Because date and time, as I told you somewhere in the middle of the class, this is in fact the most important part of many transaction, of many projects and application. Is that okay? All of us fine. So this was the class today to understand how to deal with the dates. We will come back to date again when we will learn SQL, we will learn Python and so on. डेट ऑब्जेक्ट लौट कर फिर से आएगा, बट जितना ज्यादा रिच जावास्क्रिप्ट है उतना बाकी और कंपैरिजन में कम है. Is that okay? Yes, shall be sending all the files that we have used for the program day today right after the class and to you Navin your link also. Fine. ठीक है. All right. Share the link of attendance with you. Make sure that you are marking the attendances, as 75% of attendance during the live classes is necessary for you to claim the certificate. Is that okay? Have a quick recap of what we have learned today. Come on, the last 1 minute, people. Last 1 minute. Quick recap. We all started with firstly what is the date class in JavaScript. This is where we started the class today from. How to create a date object firstly, like this. This was the date object created without passing any argument as constructor to the class. Then we can also pass arguments in different ways, like a common string, date with time. I hope you got my point. Date with time, right? You can also pass a different number of numeric arguments. You can pass the different numbers of numeric arguments, correct? Fine. If 6, so it will start all from year, month, day and all. And if you pass lesser argument, it will start numbering them from 1 only. You can't pass only 1 argument. आप खाली एक argument pass नहीं कर सकते हो. This was the important point. In fact, I forgot to mention that time. All right, fine. Okay, then there are certain methods also associated with the date object or date class, like get full year, get month. If you want to extract only a part or component of the date from the complete date, is that okay? Fine. All right, and then coming on ahead, you know sometimes we say get as and all. Recently while coding for one of the gaming project, I don't remember the name. Okay, let me still share my experience with you. We wanted to set the background, people. Like if somebody is playing that game during the daytime, we want to show a day kind of background. आपने भी ऐसा कभी गेम खेला होगा. Fine. या तो फिर if you are playing that game during the night time, that is post 7 PM or 6 PM, then we want to set the background of the game also as per the night time. Understood? So what we have to do is from your current time zone we have to fetch the time. Alright, and then if the set your conditions using if else. If the time is more than 18 hours or more than 19 hours, then set so and so image as a background. And if it is less than 18 hours or something from there to there, then set the background as some other image. Alright, Naveen, I think this is one of the example. Tell some idea of alarm. This was not an alarm, but if you're talking about the alarm and others are also interested, learn to create a to-do project or a to-do app using JavaScript. Right? आज क्लास के बाद इसके बारे में थोड़ा R&D research करिए. After the class today, try to do some research on the to-do application. Like all my tasks or activities or my plannings for the day tomorrow, I will open my app, or if there is a website, I will open that website or a web page. Say tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. I want to get ready for my office. 8 a.m. to 8:30 I want to spend time for the breakfast. 8:30 to 9:30, for example, time gone will be for traveling. 9 to 11 activity number 1, that is preparation of the report. 11 to 1 some other preparation of the report, that way. Understood? 1 to 3 maybe some learning. Say I'm busy in learning some course, so learn programming language. 3 to 5 p.m. learn some other language. So this is what I've set the task for the day. And in case if it's a timeout, it's already 1 p.m. and I'm lagging with the activities of the day prior to it. So how it should send me a message, or how should it remind me that by you are over time. Am I right? The time you have crossed the time limit and a particular task that you had set in the to-do list is yet not achieved. In fact, many to-do apps are available in your Play Store or Apple Mac Store. You can download one of them and see how they actually work before you practice to code it in the web page. Is that okay? No, you simply search it. To-do apps. Okay, आपके Play Store में भी ऐसी बहुत सारी to-do apps होती है. Play Store, and even if you can search it on Google, you will find out a lot of to-do application. To-do, it simply sets a kind of alarm, एक reminder आपको set कर देता है. Right? So try to take it as a self-learning project. Try to code it using JavaScript. If you can do, it is possible you might require the code beyond what we have done. जो हमने किया है उसके अलावा भी आपको और कोड करना पड़े. But if your fundamental is strong, understood, the foundation and the fundamental is strong, the rest of the code you can understand on your own as well. Right? So take these kind of ideas if you really want to start working on the project earlier before we could ask you to do so. Alright, in fact, take this as a self-practice question that will keep you ahead of others. Alright, fine. Anyways, just to put it up for the last time, in the end we learned how to code for a digital clock, and this was one of the simple code that I wrote in the form of a function, but this function was set up a timeout. Every time it goes to call itself, every time it ends up calling itself. Alright, keep changing the interval. 1000 के बदले 2000, 2000 के बदले 20,000. See how frequently it is updating the time. Alright, fine. Okay, as there is no other question here unanswered in the chat section, we would like to call off for the day today. See you back tomorrow once again at 4 p.m. Goodbye. And do not forget to please like, subscribe and share our lectures to your others of your friends. Okay, goodbye.